Welcome to the deep dive, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the evolution of wellness in the hospitality industry.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah, so we've got a whole stack of articles and research, all about how hotels and resorts, they're kind of moving beyond like your standard spa and gym.
Right.
They're trying to create these really immersive wellness experiences.
Yeah.
And we want to look at like how that impacts you as a listener, whether you're a frequent traveler or you just, like to stay on top of the trends
Yeah.
or you're just curious about how this whole concept of wellness is kind of changing.
For sure.
So, in the materials, there's all this talk about personalized wellness journeys and tech integration and social wellness spaces. So it sounds like a pretty big shift from what we're used to.
It is a huge shift. Yeah.
Yeah.
What we're seeing is that they're moving away from just providing amenities
Right?
and more toward creating like a complete experience. It's
Right.
not just about offering a massage or a treadmill anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about hotels actually thinking about the whole guest journey and how they can kind of integrate wellness into every aspect of the stay.
Yeah. All the sources are talking about this idea of a wellness journey. Can you like elaborate on that?
Yeah.
What does that actually look like for a guest?
So think of it almost like a carefully choreographed experience.
Okay.
That starts like the minute you arrive.
Okay.
So they're using elements like lighting and natural materials and even scents to kind of create this like really calming and restorative atmosphere right from check-in.
So I wouldn't be walking into like a standard lobby with like bright lights and, bustling energy.
Not exactly. No,
Yeah.
imagine like walking into a space that's filled with soft lighting and natural wood accents.
Right.
And like maybe a subtle scent of essential oils.
Interesting.
It's all about setting the tone for, relaxation and rejuvenation right when you walk in the door.
So it's not just about the facilities themselves, it's more about the overall ambiance and flow of the whole experience.
Exactly. Yeah, and that continues throughout your stay. So hotels are designing spaces with a real focus on like energy flow,
Okay.
which is kind of guiding guests through different stages of the wellness journey. So for instance, after you work out, you might move to a hydrotherapy circuit, which is a series of hot and cold pools and saunas and steam rooms,
Right.
all designed to promote circulation and recovery.
So for those of us who aren't, totally up on all the latest wellness lingo, can you kind of like break down what hydrotherapy actually is?
Sure. Hydrotherapy is, it's basically a centuries-old practice
Okay.
of using water for therapeutic purposes.
Uh-huh.
So think contrast therapy,
Yeah.
like where you alternate between hot and cold temperatures,
Right. Yeah.
and that helps to reduce inflammation and, boost circulation and just promote relaxation.
So after an intense workout, I might go from like a hot sauna to a cold plunge pool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Got it. And each stage of the journey it's meant to kind of complement the others.
All right.
To create a really holistic and restorative experience.
It seems like this whole curated journey concept is a big departure from like the traditional approach to wellness in hotels.
Absolutely. It's a shift away from that like add-on mentality
Okay.
where, wellness was treated as this kind of separate thing.
Uh-huh.
Now it's being like woven into the very fabric of the hotel experience.
Yeah, it's like you're not just going to the hotel to use the spa or the gym.
Right.
Wellness actually becomes an integral part of your entire stay.
Exactly. And this shift, it's also being reflected in the way hotels are designing their actual spaces.
Okay.
There's this growing understanding that bigger isn't always better when it comes to, wellness facilities.
So we're moving away from the era of like those sprawling mega spas.
In a lot of ways, yes.
Okay.
The focus is shifting towards smaller, more purpose-driven spaces that really maximize efficiency and guest experience.
Yes.
So, for example, some hotels are replacing like underutilized treatment rooms with self-guided wellness areas
Okay.
where guests can just kind of explore different modalities at their own pace.
What kind of like modalities are we talking about here?
So it could be anything from aromatherapy and light therapy to guided meditation.
Right.
You could even see halotherapy,
Okay.
which is, spending time in a salt room to kind of improve your respiratory health.
Interesting. So instead of like booking a specific treatment, I might have the freedom to just kind of explore different wellness options and personalize my experience.
Yeah, exactly. It's about giving guests more agency and control over their wellness journey.
I like that.
Yeah.
The sources also talked about how hotels are like really rethinking that traditional gym setup.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. It's no longer just about rows and rows of treadmills and weight machines.
Right, right.
They're transforming these spaces
Yeah.
into like dynamic movement hubs that cater to, a wider variety of fitness preferences.
Got it.
So you might find dedicated zones for like yoga and Pilates or even high intensity interval training.
Okay.
Some hotels are even incorporating interactive technology like virtual reality fitness experiences.
Virtual reality in the gym. That sounds pretty futuristic.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a great example of how technology is playing this like really important role in shaping the whole wellness experience.
Yeah. Speaking of technology, the research also emphasizes this idea of bring your own tech. Is that just about like hotels providing better Wi-Fi, or is there something deeper going on there?
It's much more than just having good internet access. BioT really represents a shift in how hotels are approaching technology in general.
Okay.
They're not, the sole providers of wellness technology anymore.
Right.
They're more like facilitators. So they're integrating guest preferences into this like larger ecosystem.
Okay.
So they're designing spaces that like seamlessly connect with guests' personal devices and fitness trackers and things like that.
So it's almost like the hotel is providing a platform for me to manage and enhance my own like personal wellness routine.
Exactly. Yeah. Think like docking stations for your smartwatch or Bluetooth connectivity to the gym equipment.
Right.
Or, even access to like virtual workouts through the hotel's entertainment system.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's cool how technology is like blurring the lines between our personal wellness practices and the hotel experience.
Yeah.
But doesn't all this tech integration run the risk of like turning a relaxing getaway into just like digital overload?
That's a valid concern. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of hotels are now recognizing the importance of like digital detox.
Okay.
So while they are embracing technology to kind of enhance certain aspects of the wellness experience, they're also creating these like tech-free zones
Okay.
where guests can completely disconnect and unwind.
So it's all about finding that balance between utilizing technology and providing opportunities to like escape it.
Precisely. Yeah. It's about giving guests the choice to, engage or disconnect as they see fit.
Makes sense. Now let's move on to another trend that I found really interesting in the research. And that's the rise of social wellness. For a long time, wellness seemed like this very solitary pursuit.
Right.
But it seems like that's starting to change.
You're absolutely right. There's this growing understanding that social connection is like an essential part of well-being. So hotels are starting to design spaces that actually encourage interaction and shared experiences.
Okay.
Like communal saunas or thermal bathing circuits.
Right.
Where guests can like enjoy guided hot and cold therapy together.
That's interesting. So instead of just like sitting in a sauna alone, I might be experiencing it with a group of people.
Exactly.
Doesn't that be like kind of awkward?
Not necessarily. A lot of these communal spaces are designed to like foster a sense of community and shared experience.
Okay.
They often have, trained staff who guide guests through the rituals and create a really welcoming and inclusive atmosphere.
I can see how that could actually enhance the experience, actually. Like sharing it with others might make it feel more special and memorable.
Exactly. And these, these social wellness spaces aren't limited to like thermal baths.
Right.
Some hotels are creating wellness clubs and memberships
Okay.
that really create these hubs for both locals and travelers to connect.
Okay.
They might offer, group fitness classes or cooking demonstrations or even, workshops on topics like mindfulness or stress management.
So the hotel becomes more than just a place to stay. It actually becomes like a community center for wellness enthusiasts.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a really cool concept.
Yeah. And this focus on social wellness isn't just like a fleeting trend. It really reflects a deeper societal shift towards recognizing the importance of connection and belonging.
Yeah, I think that's so true.
Yeah.
It's great to see hotels embracing that shift and creating spaces that cater to this growing need.
Absolutely. And, let's not forget about another really crucial aspect of modern wellness design, and that's sustainability.
Yes, all the research highlighted how important it is to today's traveler to know that their choices are impacting the planet, in a positive way.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just offer like organic cotton sheets and refillable water bottles anymore.
Right.
Hotels are really incorporating sustainable practices into every aspect of their wellness offerings.
Hmm.
So they're using locally sourced materials, non-toxic materials, regenerative materials,
Right.
things like bamboo and reclaimed wood,
I
or even innovative recycled materials.
Wow.
Yeah,
I imagine energy efficiency is also a major consideration.
absolutely.
Yeah.
They're designing their saunas and steam rooms and pools with all these energy-saving systems.
Okay.
And they're looking at everything from like water conservation to waste reduction,
Uh-huh.
to minimize their environmental impact as much as possible.
And I imagine incorporating nature is also a big part of sustainable wellness design.
Exactly. Biophilic design is becoming increasingly popular, which is, bringing elements of nature indoors
Right.
through things like natural light and greenery and organic materials.
It sounds like hotels are going above and beyond to really create this holistic and sustainable wellness experience.
Yeah.
But you mentioned one more design element that I'm curious to learn more about, and that's sensory design.
Yes.
What exactly does that entail?
So sensory design is all about using elements like sound and scent, temperature and texture
Okay.
to enhance the emotional well-being of guests.
So could you give me like a concrete example of how that might work?
Sure.
Would I walk into a spa and feel like bombarded with different sensations?
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's about like subtle touches that enhance the overall experience.
Okay.
So for example, you might encounter like soothing soundscapes in relaxation areas,
Mhm.
or they might use carefully curated scents like calming lavender or invigorating citrus,
Right.
in treatment rooms, or you might experience varying temperatures in a hydrotherapy circuit, moving from a warm sauna to a cool plunge pool.
So it's not about creating an overwhelming sensory experience. It's
Right.
more about using these elements strategically
Exactly.
to enhance the feeling of relaxation and rejuvenation.
Precisely. It's about appealing to all the senses to create this more immersive and enjoyable wellness experience.
Yeah. It seems like hotels are considering like every detail to create this truly holistic and transformative experience for their guests.
You really are.
But where does all this leave us? What does the future hold for wellness hospitality?
That's a great question. We'll be exploring that further in the next part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned as we continue to unpack this fascinating evolution of wellness in the hospitality industry. Welcome back to the deep dive. So before we move on, I kind of want to quickly recap what we've covered so far. We've been talking about this really interesting evolution of wellness in the hospitality industry.
Yeah. It's a big change.
Yeah.
It's moving away from that traditional model
Mm-hmm.
where wellness was seen as just like an add-on.
Right,
And now we're seeing it become like a central focus,
right.
woven into the entire guest experience.
Yeah, we talked about how hotels are like curating these personalized wellness journeys, and
Yeah.
they're using elements like design and technology
Right.
and even like social interaction to create a more like holistic and transformative experience.
Yeah. It's not just about providing, these luxurious facilities anymore.
Right.
It's about really understanding the needs of the modern wellness traveler
Uh-huh.
and creating an environment that really caters to their individual preferences.
Yeah. And the sources we're looking at, they really emphasize this idea that all of these trends are like interconnected.
Yes.
It's not just about one or two isolated innovations. It's like a convergence of different approaches
Absolutely.
that are reshaping the whole concept of wellness and hospitality.
That's a key point, yeah.
Mhm.
It's about looking at the bigger picture
Right.
and understanding how these trends are kind of influencing each other.
Yeah.
For instance, technology plays a crucial role in enabling personalized experiences,
Uh-huh.
but it's also being used to like foster social connection in these new and creative ways.
You mentioned some examples of that in the last segment, like interactive screens in communal areas or
Right.
even virtual reality experiences that can be shared with others.
Exactly. Technology can sometimes feel, isolating,
Uh-huh.
but it can also be a really powerful tool for bringing people together
Right.
and enhancing social interaction.
Yeah. And let's not forget the role of sustainability in all of this. It's clear that eco-consciousness is no longer, like a niche concern. It's like a core value
Uh-huh.
that's driving decision-making across the entire industry.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Sustainable design is no longer just about, minimizing environmental impact.
Right.
It's about creating spaces that promote like a sense of connection with the natural world
Uh-huh.
and enhance the overall well-being of guests.
So it's really about creating an environment that's good for both people and the planet.
Exactly.
But I'm curious to hear more about what all of this looks like in practice. Can
Yeah.
you give us some specific examples of how hotels are bringing these trends to life?
Certainly. Let's start with the concept of personalized wellness journeys. So imagine like checking into a hotel
Okay.
and instead of receiving, like a generic welcome packet,
Uh-huh.
you're greeted with like a customized itinerary
Okay.
that's based on your own like individual wellness goals.
So instead of just browsing like a spa menu or flipping through the hotel's activity guide,
Right.
I would have this curated plan
Exactly.
that's tailored to my needs and preferences.
Exactly. So this itinerary could include, a combination of fitness classes,
Right?
spa treatments, healthy meals,
Okay.
even guided meditations or mindfulness activities,
Interesting.
all, selected based on your stated goals and interest.
That sounds amazing. It's like having a personal wellness concierge
It is.
at
Yeah.
my fingertips. But how does this actually work? Do I have to fill out like a lengthy questionnaire or undergo some kind of assessment before I arrive?
So a lot of hotels are now using these AI-powered platforms
Okay.
to kind of gather information about their guests
Uh-huh.
and create these personalized experiences.
Okay.
So they might ask you, a few simple questions during the booking process.
Right.
Or they might even analyze, data from your previous stays or even your social media profiles
Wow.
to kind of get a better understanding of your preferences.
That sounds incredibly sophisticated.
It is.
But it also raises some questions about privacy. Like,
Yeah.
are guests comfortable, sharing this kind of personal information with a hotel?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think transparency and control are really crucial.
Okay.
Hotels need to be upfront about how they're collecting and using guest data.
Right.
They should give guests the option to opt in or opt out
Mm.
of data collection
Uh-huh.
and provide really clear explanations about how that information will be used.
It sounds like finding the right balance between personalization and privacy
Yeah,
will be like a key challenge for hotels moving forward.
absolutely.
Now, let's move on to another example, social wellness spaces. We talked about that growing trend of creating spaces that foster community and connection.
Right.
One great example of this is the rise of these thermal bathing circuits. You
Yes.
mentioned these earlier.
They sound a bit like a modern take on like Roman baths.
Exactly. These circuits typically feature like a series of hot and cold pools, saunas, steam rooms,
Right.
all designed to be experienced in a specific sequence.
Okay.
But what's interesting is that these circuits are often designed to be, enjoyed in a group setting.
So instead of just like quietly sweating it out in a sauna,
Right.
I might be like chatting with fellow guests
Exactly.
or even participating in guided rituals.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about creating like a shared experience and fostering a sense of community among guests.
Yeah.
And these social wellness spaces aren't just, limited to thermal baths.
Right.
Hotels are also creating communal fitness areas,
Okay.
shared meditation spaces, and even like outdoor fire pits
Uh-huh.
where guests can kind of gather and connect.
I can see how that would appeal to a certain type of traveler, someone who's looking for that sense of belonging and shared experience, not just a solitary escape.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And technology is playing a role here as well.
Okay.
Some hotels are using like interactive screens
Right.
in their communal areas to display, wellness tips, inspirational quotes,
Mm-hmm.
even guest-generated content.
Interesting.
It's about creating a more, engaging and interactive social experience.
So while technology can sometimes feel isolating, it can also be used to enhance social connection in these interesting ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about the role of sustainable design
Right.
in creating these social wellness spaces.
Mhm.
By using natural materials, incorporating biophilic elements, and maximizing natural light and ventilation,
Mm-hmm.
hotels can create spaces that feel both inviting and eco-conscious.
It sounds like a win-win for both, guests and the environment. They get to enjoy these, beautiful, healthy spaces.
Yeah.
And the hotel gets to reduce their their environmental impact.
Exactly.
But I'm wondering, with all of these innovative ideas and futuristic technologies,
Are these experiences only accessible to, like, luxury travelers staying at five-star resorts?
that's a good question.
Yeah.
Um, while some of the most, cutting edge innovations are currently being implemented in high-end properties,
Okay.
these trends are starting to trickle down
Oh.
to, more affordable hotels as well.
So even if I'm not staying at a super luxury resort,
Right.
I might still be able to experience some of these new wellness trends.
Absolutely. A lot of hotels are recognizing the growing demand for wellness experiences,
Yeah.
and they're finding ways to incorporate these trends into their offerings regardless of price point.
That's good news. It
Yeah.
means that these innovations are becoming more accessible to a wider range of travelers.
Exactly. And, it's not just about, having access to fancy facilities or high-tech gadgets.
Right.
The core principles of these trends,
Yeah.
personalization, social connection, sustainability.
Yeah. They can be applied at any level of the hospitality industry.
So even a small boutique hotel or a budget-friendly guest house
Right.
could create a wellness-focused experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
about being mindful of the guest experience
Uh-huh.
and finding ways to integrate wellness into every aspect of the stay.
It seems like the future of wellness and hospitality is really about creating like a more holistic and integrated approach.
Yes.
One that considers the needs of both the individual guest and the planet.
Absolutely.
But I'm wondering, how do we, the individual travelers and wellness enthusiasts, how do we fit into all of this?
Yeah.
How can we make the most of these new offerings and incorporate these trends into our own lives?
That's an excellent question, and we'll be exploring that further in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, stay tuned as we delve into like the practical implications of these trends and discover how we can empower our own wellness escapes. Whether we're traveling the world or just seeking like moments of rejuvenation at home.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been spending this episode exploring this fascinating evolution of wellness in the hospitality industry.
Yeah, it's been really interesting.
It seems like hotels are like really stepping up their game
For sure.
to offer like these more holistic and personalized experiences for their guests.
Absolutely.
We've talked about everything from like AI-powered personalization and innovative social spaces to like, cutting-edge sustainability practices.
Right.
The future of wellness travel, it seems pretty exciting.
It really does.
But like, what about those of us who aren't, jetting off to luxury resorts every week?
Right.
How can we like bring these really innovative ideas into our everyday lives?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And the good news is that you don't need like a 5-star hotel to create a really transformative wellness experience.
You can apply a lot of these principles to your own routine, whether you're at home or on the road.
So how do we even start? Where do we even begin to like translate these grand concepts into like, actionable steps?
Well, let's start with the concept of personalization.
Okay.
Remember how hotels are using technology to create those customized wellness itineraries?
Right.
You can actually do the same thing for yourself.
Okay.
Just think about what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
Are you looking to de-stress? Do you want to increase your energy levels? Improve your sleep?
Right.
Once you've like identified your goals,
Okay.
you can start curating your own wellness journey.
So instead of just like aimlessly scrolling through, fitness apps or randomly trying different like wellness trends,
Yeah.
I should have a clear plan in mind.
Exactly. And you don't need fancy AI software to do this.
Right.
Just start by thinking about what brings you joy.
Uh-huh.
What activities genuinely make you feel good? Maybe it's taking a walk in nature or listening to calming music or spending time with loved ones.
Right.
These simple pleasures can be incredibly powerful for your well-being.
Yeah, I like that. It's not about chasing the latest trends, but like tuning into what truly nourishes us.
Exactly.
But what about the social aspect of wellness?
Yes.
Hotels are creating these like amazing communal spaces.
Yeah.
How can we replicate that sense of connection in our daily lives?
That's such an important point.
Yeah.
Social connection is vital for our well-being.
Right.
And you're right. Hotels are doing some really creative things to foster that sense of community.
Wow.
But luckily, there are plenty of ways to bring that social element into your own life.
Okay.
Think about like joining a yoga studio or signing up for a group fitness class.
Okay.
Or even just inviting a friend for, a walk or a bike ride.
It seems like even like small changes can make a big difference.
Yeah.
Instead of like working out alone at home, like
yeah.
finding ways to connect with others who share similar interests could make the experience more enjoyable and more sustainable.
Absolutely. And don't underestimate the power of just spending like quality time with loved ones. Sharing a meal,
Right.
playing a game.
Yeah.
Even just having a meaningful conversation can do wonders for your well-being.
Yeah, these are great ideas. And it makes me think about another key theme we've been talking about, sustainability. Hotels are going to great lengths to incorporate like these eco-conscious practices.
Yeah, you are.
How can we like apply that same mindset to our personal wellness routines?
Well, it starts with being mindful of your choices.
Okay.
Look for fitness apparel and equipment that's made from, sustainable materials.
Right.
Choose reusable water bottles and containers. And, consider reducing your reliance on single-use plastics. Even these small changes can make a big difference.
Yeah, it's like we've been saying throughout this whole deep dive. It's all about being like intentional and thoughtful in our approach to wellness.
Exactly. And sustainability isn't just about like protecting the environment.
Right.
It's also about, taking care of yourself.
Uh-huh.
When you make choices that are good for the planet, you're also promoting your own well-being.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up, there's one more concept I wanted to touch on, and that's sensory design.
Okay.
Hotels are using elements like sound and scent and texture to kind of enhance the guest experience.
Right.
Are there like simple ways we can incorporate this into our own homes or personal spaces?
Absolutely. Think about creating like a calming and inviting atmosphere in the spaces where you practice wellness.
Okay.
So maybe it's adding a diffuser with essential oils,
Right.
like lavender or eucalyptus.
Okay.
Or experiment with lighting to find what creates a soothing ambiance. Even bringing in a few plants can make a big difference.
It's about like engaging all of our senses.
Yeah.
And creating an environment that truly supports our well-being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have to, spend a lot of money or completely redesign your home.
Right.
Just start paying attention to the details that create a sense of calm and comfort.
Yeah, I love these ideas. It's been so insightful to explore this evolution of wellness in the hospitality industry.
Me too.
And it's empowering to realize that we can actually like apply so many of these concepts to our own lives.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'd like to leave our listeners with a final thought.
Okay.
How do you envision incorporating these trends into your own life?
Yeah.
What small changes can you make today to create a more, holistic and fulfilling wellness experience?
It's all about taking those little steps.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been such a fascinating journey, exploring this future of wellness.
It really has.
And it seems like the future is all about being like intentional and mindful and connected, not just to ourselves, but to the world around us.
Like something.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and, keep diving deep.
And we'll see you on the next deep dive.